Welcome back everybody, and thank you for tuning into this week's video here at Mobile Outdoor. Today we're going to be prepping this interesting brachiopod fossil. Now, as most of you know, when it comes to my fossil preps, I like to use a center punch. But today, that all changes because we have a nice rotary tool right here, and or Dremel, whatever you want to call it. But that's what we're going to be using to try and expose the rest of this brachiopod today. Now, it's also worth noting that with this fossil prep, I will be pulling out all the safety equipment. As you can see there, I got my gloves, I'll be wearing safety glasses, and even a mask because using a tool like this can throw up a lot of dust. And if the dust gets too bad, we even have a bucket of water here that will dip the rock in as we go to keep down on how much dust actually does fly up. But let's go ahead and take this rock back inside and get a closer look at it and kind of explain how we're going to go about this fossil prep. So I'll start off saying that even though we technically took a closer look at this piece on Monday, we're going to be looking at this now from a fossil prepping standpoint. And one of the first things I want to take a look at is this brachiopod. Now, right off the bat, you can tell our brachiopod is fractured on the right side. But what many people might not realize is how much of this brachiopod still continues underneath the rock. As you can see, there is the back edge of our fossil, and we can track it out all the way up across this top portion of the rock. So all along this top face, we should find a pretty nice brachiopod. Like I said before, there's a small chance that we're going to have to sacrifice a few of these Bryozoans. If we can get the top of this rock to flake off versus having to go straight through it, then that might not be the case. But we won't know for sure until we actually start prepping this piece. Now, I will say I worked with this setup a little bit yesterday, so I do know what to expect as far as how the tool is going to react, but what I'm unsure of yet is how long this fossil prep is actually going to take. It could either take 5 minutes or a half hour. We'll just have to wait and see. And as you can see here, we're starting out with a nice small bit on our tool, and we're also going to be starting out on a slow speed just so I can get an idea of how tough this rock is actually going to be. As we start prepping this fossil, I just wanted to point out the fact that I realize I'm wearing a glove on my right hand, but this is something you actually want to avoid doing while using any sort of spinning tools. So if you're watching this video to get an idea of what you need to prep fossils using a rotary tool like this, just go ahead and leave that glove off because it's better to be safe than sorry. I should have brought my dentist pick out. You know what? I don't feel like going all the way inside to grab it. We're just going to grab out one of these tips here. This one should work nice. Okay. As you can see, we've definitely uncovered more of the brachiopod. It didn't go as far as I was thinking it might, but that's still pretty good if you ask me. The one thing I'm trying to figure out right now is if there's any more on this left side left to be uncovered. Because as we flip it around, you'll see we do have a fracture to take advantage of, But what I don't want to do is lose the entire corner of this piece. I think what I'm going to go do is clean this guy up better and go from there. But that is definitely really cool. And talk about a successful first prep with the Dremel. I'm pretty happy about that one. Okay, so not even 30 seconds later, I went to go set this piece down and the corner came off. And I'm pretty sure we lost the corner of our Brachiopod there, but at least we don't have to make the decision on whether to continue with this prep or not. We're definitely going to leave this piece as is now. We're still going to go clean it up because it's really dirty. And then don't forget, we still have our Bryozoans to take a look at, because we were actually able to save a fair bit of them. So I will catch you guys in a minute, as long as nothing else falls apart. Here's our Brachiopod Fossil, all prepped out and cleaned up. Two things worth pointing out are, one, this Brachiopod wasn't quite as big as I thought it would be, but it's still a pretty nice size for being on the roadside. And at the end of the day, all this means is that we'll have a better idea of how to read these rocks in the future. You can see that we were pretty much able to remove the entire top layer of this rock. And because of that, we exposed a lot more of this Brachiopod. Now, it definitely gets harder to see in the darker part of this rock, but if you look closely, you can definitely still see our spines there, which is super cool. Then, continuing on the track of our good news, as we look towards the left side of our Brachiopod, at that corner I thought I broke off outside, you can see that that doesn't actually appear to be the case. So, that's super neat. I don't know how we even got that lucky, but at this point, I'll take it. At this point, we're just about ready to wrap up the video, but we have one more order of business to take care of, and that is to get a closer look at the Bryozoans we were able to save, and to also see the new ones that we discovered in between this fossil layer. First off, we'll be checking out the rock side of this layer, because I happen to think it's pretty neat. As you can see there, we have two small Bryozoan fragments. They might be hard to see just because they blend in so well, but once you see them, it's pretty hard not to. And then we have a really nice one up there by the edge, which I think is pretty cool. Maybe a little something right there. Oh, we got more stuff right there. It's pretty neat. And we got a nice one right there as well. So all around at this point, we've already got a good amount of fossils saved over. And then last but not least, we have two big flake pieces that we were able to save from the top of the rock. That is super cool. Even got a nice crinoid in there. You can definitely tell we have some Bryozoan fragments and imprints on the backside here, which is super cool. I don't know if I've ever seen anything quite like that. But let's go ahead and take a look at our last piece. Man, it's unbelievable how many small fossil fragments are actually on the surface of this rock. I'm glad we were able to save this part of the rock because this was the part of the rock that actually held most of the fossils. So we'll definitely take good care of this piece. And then as we flip it around, we only have 1 or 2 Bryozoan fragments. But the cool thing about this side is we actually have part of our Brachiopod imprint that was under the rock. So that's super cool. Like I said, we'll definitely make sure to take really good care of these pieces. They'll probably go in a case and not come out unless I really need to do some research on them. As for the Brachiopod fossil, that will probably go on my display shelf because it's a bit sturdier than these little small pieces and it just looks really awesome. So I definitely want to be able to show that piece off. So that'll do it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed this fossil prep. I know I did, especially getting a chance to use that new tool. I'm sure we'll find a bunch of different things to use that for in the future. But until then, stay safe and rock on.